Return to Glory podcast. Hunter Zarbnik, Austin Rose, Dakota Freetag. Short week. Episode on Monday, episode on Wednesday. We're here to talk more about our schedule. Back by popular demand from last year, we will be ranking our schedule 1 through 12 in order of most importance. This is where things could get very interesting. I think we had some very differing opinions last year. So we will get to that here in a second. At the top here, guys, I listened to a podcast earlier today. And credit Nick Baugh podcast. I love listening to his ideas and takes. And he had some really just interesting thoughts about all the optimism. And we sit here every year. We're very hopeful, optimistic Husker fans, Kool-Aid drinking, yada, yada, yada. But we're getting some national attention this year, too. And not saying that that's not worthy, but there's a lot of talk. And on top of that, this morning, I opened my phone to a video of some national dude that I've never seen. I don't even follow. It was a suggested one that said his favorite Big Ten win total bet was to hammer the Husker over 7.5. And I just started thinking, I'm like, why? And after listening to Nick Baugh and his podcast, he kind of had the same thought, like, why are we doing this again? And like, what is the reasoning? I mean, if we solely want to look at last year, all right, rewind how the season ended last year. Not knowing who the coach was, how much different was that than a Scott Frost year? So my question, I guess, to you guys, and again, I looked at our rankings last night. I looked at my rankings. I'm like, man, I had Nebraska in the top half. Dak, you had him at 5.
Yeah. You got called out for
it. I mean, the question is why? Why? And I said this too when I was looking at the big jumbled middle to the bottom teams. What reason do we have to put us ahead of, well, with Dak, you had ahead of Wisconsin, but the Wisconsin's I'm gonna go
ahead.
Minnesota.
I have Wisconsin one ahead.
So but what puts us ahead of those middle of the pack teams? I guess Austin, I'll start with you. Like, what puts us ahead of those teams, and what is the reasoning behind all the hype?
I think the reason behind the hype is primarily, I shouldn't say primarily, but schedule based. I think most of us would agree that we have a reasonably favorable schedule and a lot of winnable games. We retained a lot of talent from last year. We have a lot. I don't know exactly what a percentage of returning starters is, but it's pretty high compared to most teams. And we lost 4 games last year by 3 points or less, and it was mostly due to turnover margin. And we have presumably a better quarterback. We definitely don't have a worse quarterback.
And I'm going to say that too. What about Scott Frost's best 3-9 year ever?
We were better the next year, weren't
we? What, 4-8?
Record wise, hey, we were better the next year.
Was the team better though?
No. But I also don't think they returned as many players. I don't think they improved in the quarterback position. But they had a better record. And we had 5 wins last year.
I'm just at a high level, like, why should we believe? Why should we think that things are going to change for Nebraska fans? I'm just trying to prepare myself for if things don't go well. Like, I had us higher than a lot of those teams, and I don't think that a 7.5 win total is that far off, and people like that. And people are from out west, like the one media guy had us at 14th in the AP poll. That's where we got those points from to receive votes. So, like, it's not an uncommon opinion, but like the other thing that I heard after Scott Frost's first year, remember what happened? We're like, okay, Scott Frost, look what he did at UCF in year 2. This year 2 thing's his. We were 0-6. He was 0-6 to start his tenure in Nebraska. I don't remember what we won that first year. We obviously didn't make a bowl game. Second year, we're like, this is the year. And then it wasn't.
I think all the hype's behind quarterback play because your defense was good last year. You returned a lot of the same people. It's all come down to quarterback play because you couldn't get much worse than last year. I mean, if you do, it'd be impressive, but I don't think you could get worse.
I don't think we can get worse because we have Heinrich. Worst case scenario, we're starting Heinrich over Dylan, which is the
and
same.
He had to have gotten better.
And that's assuming he hasn't gotten better and the receiving core is not healthier and better. We have better health. Arguably, we have our floor of the same quarterback play of last year, and we're returning most of our defensive players that were big impact players. And an easier schedule, I would say.
So we could have justified it last year, right? And the year before that the optimism and I'll also say this. Going into last year with Rule, I think a lot of us had the mindset of, including I think all three of us, was we got to see it to believe it. Like we thought, okay, Rule's a good hire. We like the things he says. He is a positive optimist. Like he knows how to talk very optimistic to the public, and in return, we feed off of that. But this year, I feel like we're away from that again. But was 5-7 last year proving it? Was getting Dylan Raiola proving it? Like Husker fans, I just feel like
what are you arguing against?
I'm not really arguing. I'm just saying, why are we so hyping everything up again? Like, what's the reason behind it?
Raiola is one of them, but then the other one is, I guess I don't really know what the hype you're referring to is. If it's the hype of taking the over of 7.5, I think that's just you're gambling, right? The under is much more likely.
But those are set based on realistic, like where people are putting their money at. Like our win total has not been 7.5 in years. Like what I'm saying is, I all of this stuff it's because all the hype and optimism, and we always have that, right? I'm not saying I don't agree with it all, but I am trying to play devil's advocate to it of the why. Like, what did we show last year as a team that can prove that we're going to win 7 games this year?
Top 20 defense.
We did not play a top 60 offense at all last year.
And I don't think
that was a counter.
I don't think this year is going to Michigan.
Ohio State.
Michigan was in the 60s.
Okay. Well, I don't think this year's going to be much different. You have Ohio State and USC. But I think, if you factor in last year playing Michigan as the equivalent to playing one of those teams, which I probably would, they won the national championship. It's one different game.
What rock star offense are you ever going to play in the Big Ten besides Ohio State?
Oregon.
That's it. Oregon, yeah. Penn State's not rock star offense. Michigan's not. And everyone else never has one.
Right. And I guess people think that maybe some of these teams will get better, but that's also just an assumption. So anyways, I think this will guide us a little bit into our rankings here for our schedule, because I'm not saying that I don't think we'll beat Illinois at home or Rutgers at home or go on the road at Purdue and win. I think we should win those games, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are saying, okay, we could be 7-0. Well, how much of that do you actually believe that we're going to be 7-0? Like, do you give it a 50-50 shot, or is that just you saying, hoping and thinking that'd be really cool? But there's a chance that it happens. I think everybody would say that. But when you're saying that, when you say Nebraska should be 7-0, are you saying that's a like that should be more than 50-50 chance? Because if that's the case, that really asks the question why. Like, why are we assuming that we're going to beat these teams when we've shown to lose? And the other reasoning behind it could be last year. Like, what was our fault last year?
Turnovers, quarterback
play, and turnovers. Defense was good.
Special teams
was So it's like, yeah, some of that stuff was with Frost, but at the same time, like, yeah, do you chalk it up with injuries too in the wide receiving room, in the running back room? The offensive line, like you mentioned, Austin had one more year of experience under their belt. Do you just chalk it up to Jeff Sims and Matt Rule and Satterfield having to make a last minute decision of getting him, and it failed. Like maybe that's what we do, and just think that Rayola is going to come in and do his job well, better than Sims. I mean, like you said, it can't get worse. So
I don't think it's unreasonable to bet the over. I think it's unreasonable to say slam the over. That's a bit aggressive because
and yeah, I mean
we
the
gave
winter
our
will be,
percentages. We were all under. No, Dak, you were over.
Yeah, your first 7 games, you can't get easier.
Well, you could. Oh, yeah, you could.
I don't know if you could. In the Big Ten,
I mean, maybe not in the Big Ten.
do
I mean, Colorado, who's saying they're going to be good?
well,
Colorado.
we'll get to the schedule here. I'm just gonna leave the ending on this with this topic is we every year as Husker fans, I'm just talking in general, drink the Kool-Aid. We're optimistic. We get excited for the season leading up to it, as any fan should. Like
Which is what you're supposed to do. You're
that's
not
part of a
supposed to
fan
go
thing.
into the year and be like, this
But
is gonna be a dog shit year. I'm gonna hate it.
this year, people, and I've said it myself a handful of times, no, this is actually going to be the year. Like, yeah, I'm excited, but this is going to be the year it works. That's the question I'm trying to answer because I also think we may have said that under Frost year two. We may have said that for Frost a couple other times. We may have even said that last year. Last year, I don't think so
Yes.
because we were waiting to prove it. But you know what I mean? I think people are saying this is going to be the year. Well, we kind of say that too, but if it really is going to be the year, like why do we truly believe that? So, anyways, ranking our schedule. Dak's going to start. We're going to do it similar to how we did our Big Ten power rankings. You're going to start at 12. You're going to have around, I mean, you're not getting timed, but about 5 minutes to go uninterrupted. And then we'll comment without spoiling our rankings. Did I cut out there?
A little bit. Not bad.
Okay. Well, who knows what is going to appear like in the post? Oh, well. All right, Dak. The floor is
All
yours,
right.
starting at 12.
Let's kick off with shout out Michael Hall for the Twitter comment. Number
Hey.
one fan right there.
Speaking of that,
Okay.
do you want to answer his question?
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel, of course. That's
What
probably the
was
best
the
quarterback.
question? What was the question?
Wasn't it? Why is everybody so high on Oregon this year?
Yes.
And it's Dylan Gabriel, the best quarterback in the nation.
Okay, Austin, that's Dak's obvious reason from being an OU fan.
I think they're well coached and they have a shit ton of talent. You know, I don't know if there really needs to be another explanation.
Yeah, I do think they could struggle, but I mean, we're comparing him to a Michigan team, to a Penn State team that has lost a ton, and I mean they're better than Iowa. I think. I don't know if like Oregon Iowa plays. I think that'd be an intriguing game, but I just think they're ahead of them. I don't have them ahead of Ohio State. I think if Ohio State and Oregon play and they do, I think Ohio State's going to win.
But is Dylan Gabriel better than Bo Nix?
Bo Nix ended up being solid last year.
Yeah, really good.
So.
Okay, anyway. Shout out Michael Hall. All right. So we're gonna go bottom top here. So this is the least. We're ranking like the most important games, right?
So 12 would be your least important.
Yeah, least important game. Okay. My least important game is Northern Iowa. It's an FBS team. You should cream them. Like, there's no. If you don't win that game by, what do you think that spread will be, guys? 38.
I was gonna say 22.
It'll be. I guess it's
think
going to be 30 in between that.
If you don't win that game by 30 plus, you got problems. My next one is Ohio State. Just because I don't think anyone's giving a shot to win that game. I mean, if you win it, great. If you lose, no one's going to really bat an eye about it if you win that or lose that one. Next one, UCLA. It's kind of Northern Iowa point. You should cream them too. That won't be as much of an easy game as Northern Iowa, but I think UCLA is going to be one of the bottom teams in the nation. And it's at home. I guess it'd be a little important because it'd be their first time in Lincoln as a Big Ten team, but I don't know. I don't think they're gonna be that good. And then we got Illinois. Next one. I know they got Bielema. I don't think that they're going to be great either. Luke Altmaier, I'm not big on at all. It is a Friday night game. I didn't think about that when I was ranking it, but I should probably put it higher. But that Friday night game makes it bigger. The reason why, so the next one is Indiana. I put that one higher in Illinois because that's your last game going into Ohio State. Say you're 6-0 going in the Indiana game, that'll be a massive game. Going 7-0 into Ohio State, it'd probably be a top 10 match if you're 7-0 going into Ohio State.
Whoa.
Then we got, I think, okay, and then we got Purdue. That'd be after the Ohio State game. You're probably, or no, that is not after the Ohio State game. Never mind. Anyway, I think Purdue is going to be the best out of Indiana, Illinois. Yeah, out of those two, I think Purdue is going to be the best out of those two. I think, and you go to Purdue, you guys never win at Purdue. It's 11 a.m. kick. Every time you play them, it is, and it's the same story every time. You can never beat them at Purdue. Next one, Rutgers. I think Rutgers is going to be actually really good this year. I personally think that's your toughest game out of the first 7 is Rutgers. I think they're better than Colorado. I don't know why I'm so high on Rutgers this year. I shouldn't be, but I think that's the one you need to win if you want to go 7-0. I don't think Colorado's going to be that great either. Next one, Wisconsin. That one. One second. That one you want to. I have it higher on this list because you want to get revenge for what happened last year. You should have beat them. And it's always a battle, Wisconsin. It's never. What's it been like? One blowout the whole time you guys have played each other since joining the Big Ten. It's always a battle against you guys, and it's at home. It could come down depending on how your schedule goes. That game could be deciding factor for a bowl game. Next one, Iowa. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's a rivalry game. I hope to God you beat them this year. I hate Iowa, but that one's always a massive game on our schedule. It's your biggest rival. Then this year it's at night. Did not know that until I looked at the schedule. All right, next one, UTEP. That one I have at 3 because it's right out of the gate. You want to look good coming out of the gate. If you win by 10 points, you're gonna be shitting yourself going to the Colorado game. You want to blow them out. I'm not going to say as bad as Northern Iowa. You want to win that game by 24 plus and look good while you do it. Because then you got the big game after that. Next week after that. Next one, USC. I have that up there just because personally that's my biggest one. I hope to God you beat USC. I don't think they're going to be that good either. I think it's going to be an easier game than what you guys think. You're going to be able to run up and down the field on them. You should be able to put up 35 points plus on USC. And then the last one, I would think we all should have this number 1, Colorado. That's pretty self-explanatory too. What happened last year, the whole Dion thing, rivalry. They've been talking shit the whole offseason. That's Colorado's biggest game too, I think. Coming in the year, you guys have been talking back and forth this whole time. You want to beat Colorado. Get your year started off good. Finally win a non-conference game against a real opponent that's not like a UTEP, Northern Iowa, South Alabama team like that, like an actual solid opponent. That'll be a good way to start your year.
Okay. My initial thoughts, without giving away like where I'm going to go with this, a lot of your 6 through 9, they're in the middle. Those are games you're saying that we should win, right? Like,
yeah,
I know Rutgers you mentioned, but you
the
have
Rutgers one.
you have them less important because you just think, oh, it's not a big game, so we should win these games. Like
Yeah,
you made the comment about Bielema and Purdue, like Indiana, like so. I just want to put
I'm
that out
also
there.
we're also doing it off 0-0. Say you're going to those games 3-4, 4-3, or even I guess you'd be lower than that. But just say you're like 500 or less, then it obviously will be bigger at the time. But going in 0-0, I don't think it's that those are that big of games.
Dak, what's the Huskers' goal when you're putting out importance? Like when you're saying this game is very important, like what goal do you have in mind?
Um, Obviously, I think their number one goal going into the season to make a bowl game, and I think number two is to beat Colorado. I don't think the Big Ten championship game is anywhere near their goals. They can say all they want, it's not. They're realistic there, but I think number two goal coming in the year is beat Colorado. Number three is beat Iowa.
Your USC is pretty high. I'm not gonna say where mine's at, but USC at number two. I don't know if you went and asked a bunch of Husker fans what games they think are most important, but I'm gonna guess USC is not gonna be in the top five.
I don't know though. That's another one though that Husker fans I feel like want to win that game badly too. There's a little bad blood between USC and Nebraska.
There that kind of speaks to what your goal is doing this is what you think Husker fans want to win. Like
Yeah,
that's kind of your goal in mind is yeah, I got that now.
when you're 0-0, I think that's what you got to do.
That's what you said about Wisconsin too. You know, wanted revenge, so it makes sense to where your rankings are coming from. Okay, Austin.
All right. So I took a little different approach to Dak. There was that part of me that the Bill Belichick aspect of me that's like, well, the most important game's UTEP. The second most important game is Colorado. Third most important game is UNI.
That would have
But
been great.
I really thought about it because I mean, to be honest, you know, if you go out there and you lay an egg, week one, week two, you start out shitty. It doesn't really matter at the end of the year. But I decided not to go that approach. So took a little bit different approach. So my number 12 is actually USC. I really don't think it matters that much. I think by the end of the year, they're going to be ranked top 15 if we lose to them. I don't think anyone's really going to be shocked, and I don't think anyone's going to care because at that point, hopefully, we're already bowl eligible or close to bowl eligible. And if we're not bowl eligible, we're going to be looking past them, either Wisconsin or Iowa, to get bowl eligible. Number 11, I actually have the Illinois Fighting Illini. Again, it's one of those games, first Big Ten game, it's at home. It's going to be a little bit important like that Friday night game, but I don't think anyone's going to be jazzed up. I don't really know if we see ourselves competing at that level. Number 10, I have Rutgers. I think people are going to expect us to lose this one. It's going to be a close one. If we get blown out, we're going to be disappointed. But other than that, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal.
We're home.
We're at home. We're at home. But I don't think I just, if they're coming in and they're looking good, I don't know. It was really tough to rank again, these Big Ten teams that are all kind of in the middle. I think it's all super important because we're not a good team. We have to beat the middle teams too. But there are some other fish to fry. I have Wisconsin at number 9. We obviously always want to beat Wisconsin. It's at home, late in the year. It's going to be important, possibly for bowl eligibility. But if we don't win the other games ahead of it that I haven't ranked, then it doesn't freaking matter. So from there, I got, let's see, where's my list? There we go. I got UCLA, number 8. Again, another team that we should beat, but it's a little bit lower because it's not an opponent that we're going to be super jazzed about playing. First time in the Big Ten. UCLA, first time head coach. I just don't think we're really going to get up for it that much as far as fans go. Ohio State, number 7. It's kind of in the middle here because they're going to be obviously 1 or 2, and we're going to have hopefully a winning record coming into that game. But like Dak said, I don't know if people are going to expect us to win. Well, no one should expect us to win. But if we go out there and we get absolutely walloped and lose 56-3, people are going to be asking, what the hell are we doing? What's the point? We could have done this with the last three coaches. Why are we coming out here getting steamrolled by Ohio State every freaking time? As long as it's a little bit of a fight, I think people will be happy. But that's why it's in the middle of the pack, it's not at the top, because it's not expected to win. But if we get blown out, it's not going to be good. Now we're getting to the echelon of teams that I think it's very important we beat them, because if we're losing to these teams, it's gonna be dire emotional mentality for Husker fans. So I'm gonna go with Indiana, number 6, and then Purdue, number 5, basically for the exact same reasons. I think they're teams that we think we should beat. Purdue, we have a little bit more juice against, because I think we've been competitive with Purdue the last 5 years. So I think people are a little more excited for that. But I guess these are teams that we think we should beat. So it's important that we do try to actually beat them. And then I actually have UNI and UTEP 3 or 4. So sorry, 4 for UNI, 3 for UTEP. We got to come out. We got to beat them. If we come out and we look bad against them, bad start to the year, bad juju going into Colorado. And if you lose one of those games, holy shit, it's going to be a rough year. Number 2 is going to be Iowa. We might be playing. They might honestly be top 10 coming the end of the year. Rivalry game. If you win that game and you're 6-6, people are going to be absolutely freaking losing their minds. I mean, I can't even imagine. And then Colorado, because screw Colorado. We play them week 2. It's kind of a battle of coaching approaches, old rivalry. I think it's the most excited. Most people are excited for is Colorado. Can't lay an egg. Friday night. Can't lay an egg. Or sorry, Saturday night.
I'll save my comments for my rankings because we'll just go off of that. Dak, what do you think?
You think Rutgers is actually? You think Nebraska should lose that game?
I don't think we should lose, but I think it's gonna be closer to a 50-50.
Yeah, I agree there. I think that game's the biggest toss-up out of your, well, besides Colorado, but the biggest toss-up out of your first 7 games.
I think it might be one of the biggest toss-up outside of
Games you
Colorado.
have.
I mean, there's 3 toss-up games that I would probably say: Wisconsin, Rutgers, and Colorado.
And Iowa. I would always put Iowa just because they can't score more than 13
Yeah.
points.
Okay. So that's 4. All right, Hunter, you give us your things, then we can talk.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to say that all of this is perspective, right? So as I was doing this, my perspective last year is quite a bit different than this year. Like I had Colorado very low because I didn't think it mattered. And I thought the games towards the end of the year mattered more because that is what we were building on. Whether we were making a bowl game or not, to head into the next year, we needed positive momentum heading out of the season. I wouldn't say that we completely achieved that, but I do think it ended
All right.
okay. Like we lost some games that we probably shouldn't have, but we made it there. So like I took this year the approach of what is the goal here? What at the end of this year do we need to achieve for Husker fans to be excited about? We will always be excited about moving into next year with Coach Rule still head coach. Like I don't want to leave this year going, is Coach Rule the guy? I didn't want that. So I'm like, okay, we need to make a bowl game, number 1. And so my rankings are very much how are we getting to a bowl game? And what games help us get to a bowl game? And where do they fall at our schedule? So I say all that, then I'm going to start by saying we are better than UTEP and UNI. And Dak, I completely disagree that I don't care how we look against UTEP. This is coming from a coach too. This is actually bad to say. I do think we should be looking at Colorado and prepping for that game a little bit. And if we come out because we haven't been as focused on UTEP and win by 10, I don't care at all. I don't think that matters in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, winning the game matters, but I think we will just because we're better than them. You and I, not much to comment on. We should kick the crap out of them. Like those are two games that you can say we will win that game no matter what happens.
Wow. Who are you, Hunter?
I haven't done this with any teams, but they're not two quality pop. I mean, they're two of the worst teams we've played on our schedule in a long time. So that's why I got them at 12 and 11. Similar to your guys' opinions on Ohio State, like I don't think anybody's expecting us to win that game. It's kind of a no win. I mean, it's a win if we win, but there's a no lose situation there. So go out there, see if we can play well. I'm big on Ohio State this year. I would not be surprised if we got slaughtered, and that's totally okay. I don't think we're there at that level. Talent wise, coaching wise, they are returning a lot of players. So 10 for there. Similar, Austin, I had USC at 9. I don't think that's a game that really we are probably expected to win going on the road. Now, USC could be in turmoil at that point. I know you said that they're going to be ranked. I don't know, but it is on the road. It's our first time we're traveling to the West Coast for a game too, for a conference game. I don't think it's very important that we win that game. I don't think it's very important to win that game to get to a bowl game either, based on what I'm going to talk about here in a second. 8, I have Wisconsin. I do. I think it's important because we like to beat Wisconsin, but again, it's at home. I don't know that it's as important as some of these other games. It's just where they fell in my mind in the middle. And I'm gonna do this too, and I didn't like doing this, but I put Iowa at 7. I think it's gonna be a tough game. I think it's obviously one that we're gonna get up for, especially if we need it to get to a bowl game. I think Iowa's gonna be pretty solid this year. Obviously, it's a rivalry. I don't think we need to be focused on that game as much as these other ones. There are many more important games to keeping our goal in mind than Iowa and Wisconsin at the end of our schedule. So Iowa at 7. At 6, I have Rutgers. This next grouping, 3 through 6, actually 4 through 6, I could go either way on them. I have Rutgers 6. I have UCLA 4 and Illinois 5. I can move those around probably anywhere. I think they're all 3 home games that they're important because we need these wins to get to a bowl game. UCLA is the one that we really don't want to lose as we hit the end of our schedule. Like their team, as you guys mentioned, we should beat. Like we need to have that one a little bit ready because if the Ohio State game's ugly and we got to go play UCLA and lay another egg, that's not good for the remaining of the season. So we need to make sure we're up for that game. We should be better than them. We should not be losing to a Pac-12 team that lost everybody and got a new coach. Like that game is very important to say, no, we are better than UCLA. Illinois fell at 5. I do think the Friday night game helped a little bit. I think we need to also prove that we're going to win this game. I have Indiana at 2, Purdue at 3, and then Colorado at 1. Purdue and Indiana, they're the bottom of the conference. We're on the road. Similar to Illinois, like these games we must win. Like we must prove to people that we are better than these teams on the road. I don't know if we are, but I think they're that important. We can't go lay an egg and mess up, turn the ball over, miss field goals. We can't do that at Purdue and Indiana. They're 2 teams that if we want to move in the right direction, we should be better than. So that you can kind of see where a lot of my most important games fell. It's our first 7 games. I mean, those 2 I'm giving us wins. So like we have to be ready early on to win these games. And if we lose one, like, yeah, it should be a little bit open our eyes and bells and whistles going off because it's not good if we lose some of these games because that's how important they should be. Colorado, you guys said it. Don't need to spend a whole lot of time there, but it is. It's a huge game. That's the one that should be circled to start the year. I'm giving us a win against UTEP. I shouldn't do that, but I am. I don't care if it looks ugly. It'd be nice to look good, but it doesn't matter to me. Win the game. Make a bowl game. That's why I ranked those first 7 a lot higher.
I think we agreed with the approach as far as focusing on winnable bowl games, Hunter. I just think we disagree with, because you did obviously UTEP and you and I, your bottom two, and I put them at the top as like, we have to freaking win these games. Like, if we don't win these games, we're not winning other games. You took it as we're gonna win those games. Those count towards our 6.
Yeah.
Put them away.
Are you a good enough program to be overlooking anybody right now?
I'm saying that right now with those 2 teams. I think that's how bad they are. Yes, I agree with you, Dak, and I usually don't go that route. I have written in my notes, can I do this? As I was writing this down, I'm like, yep, I'm gonna do it. Like I didn't want to do it. Normally those games is like, no, we must win, but I think we're better than them. I don't think they're like the Troys, the Northern Illinois of the world that we've played as non-conference teams. I don't think they're as good as them. UTEP has a new coach as well. We'll preview them here in a couple of weeks. So,
how many teams are we playing with new coaches? UTEP, not Purdue,
UCLA,
UCLA,
Indiana.
Okay, so 4.
Mhm.
Is that right?
USC by that point in the season.
Yeah. Okay.
If you lose to Northern Iowa, that'd probably be the worst loss in your program history. You can overlook them.
I agree. And Dak, you kind of, Austin has both the front, I have both the back. You split them. Yeah, but I just disagreed with, I guess, why you put them so high, because I really don't care how we look. I think people are going to freak the fuck out if we don't look good. I don't think you're wrong on that. It's going to happen if we do it.
You just gonna be awful, but
I'm gonna chalk that up to we've been focused on Colorado. I did want to point out too, Indiana. I do have that second because that is a trap of all games before Ohio State, especially if we're 6-0 or even 5-1 or even 4-3, like a game that quote unquote we should win. Right before Ohio State, coming off a bye week, like let's lock in and win that one.
All right. So what's our cumulative order?
Colorado 1. I'm going to put a graphic out later. We actually jumped down to Iowa being 2, even though I had them lower. And then we got a lot in the middle that kind of averaged out. So I do have a graphic that'll be coming out that ranks our win percentages that we did a couple weeks ago and put it on a graph with the importance.
Like Purdue, Indiana, UTEP.
Yeah, damn, they're all kind of in the middle there.
Wisconsin, UCLA, USC, and Rutgers.
I mean, I think our 2 lowest there, you can see our UNI and Ohio State. And yeah, there's a lot in the middle. That's what makes this fun, is that it's all someone's perspective. And like I said, I feel like these all feel important, especially where we're at as a program. They should. They all matter for different reasons and for different objectives. I think Dak took a little bit different approach of what game is important to the fans, to that people are going to get up for and hyped up for. Like I'm kind of taking the approach of these are the games we should be getting hyped for, even though we might not, but these are very important to make sure that we win.
I just want to talk to you after, if you look like shit against UTEP, and see how you're feeling.
Yeah, we'll be on the pod, Dak. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I just want to know how you feel after that.
All right, we will wrap it up here and be back on Sunday. We'll preview a little bit of Husker offense, getting into our depth chart and what it's going to look like here come this fall. Go Big Red.
UBR.
Boomer Sooner.